Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Perform Happy podcast. I am so excited to have someone on the show today who has hung out with Olympians, has hung out with NCAA champions, and actually played a really big role in some of their lives and careers. Jeff Graba, who is not to be confused with his twin brother Jess, is the coach at Auburn Gymnastics. And I'm going to be honest, I did not know there were two of you. And I'm sure that everyone sort of like has that realization of, oh my gosh, there are two
It should be
identical twins.
it should be to be confused with Jess because we both get confused all the time. He was in Paris and was up on the Eiffel Tower with his wife during the meet, during one of the off times, and somebody wanted to take a picture with him. So he's like, "Yeah, fine." So he took a picture, and then as they were leaving, the guy said "War Eagle," which is an Auburn thing. And he goes, "Wait a second," and he goes, "No, I know you're not him, but I wanted you to know I knew both." So
Yes.
he's like, I didn't want you to leave thinking you were going to take a picture with the Auburn coach, and I'm not that guy." So
Yes. Yes. So
pretty
yeah.
normal.
But then again, I'm sure you have, all of the twin stories of life, of all
Yeah.
the hilarity of getting mixed up with each other. But then you both pursue gymnastics coaching careers. One of you goes club, and one of you goes college. And so you both have Coach Suni Lee. So
Mhm.
how cool that you both, kind of had your impact on her, Jess, probably more so than you just in years. But
Mhm.
anyway, so what's the funniest story of like you and Jess and getting mixed up in the gymnastics world that you can share
Oh,
with us?
there's a lot. So we started. I we owned. He owns Midwest Gymnastics. That's where Suni took gymnastics, but we owned it together years ago. I got married, and my three step kids were older, so I had to. They were going into college, so that's we were either going to open up another Midwest Gymnastics in the same area, or I was going to go into college. So we did start together, and we've coached on and off together our whole lives. But probably the most funny is I don't know. There's a lot of funny stuff. My first year with TV at Auburn, um, he would show up periodically to our meets, and he wanted to support the program. So he'd show up, and he wouldn't wear his Midwest gymnastic stuff. He'd wear an Auburn shirt. And so ESPN is there, and they're getting ready. We're warming up on vault. I'm on the other end of the arena, and uh, I look up, and they think he's me. So they pull him aside as he's walking in with his Auburn shirt, and they start interviewing him. They got the camera on him and everything. And of course, he's not saying anything. He's just going to do the interview. And I don't know if he thought he knew that they got the wrong guy, or if he thought, well, maybe they think I'm the brother and they want to ask me questions. But he's not a really good guy to interview, in my opinion, about me, because he will reveal maybe too much. So I had to shut that down really fast. I had to stop coaching and run over there. And they thought it was me. So they looked at us and like, wait a second. Like, no, dude, you got to look around.
There's two. Yeah, you got
Yep.
the wrong guy. And you have to send one of your gymnasts, like, go sprint down and knock that camera over. Hold on. This is not going to be good.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have said something like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just was out getting nachos. So
Yeah, I've actually
probably
never
wouldn't have
coached
been.
before. I just
And
showed up and they said, go for it. So here I am.
I could see that happening.
Yes. So obviously there's a good sense of humor between the two of you to
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We're pretty good with each other, I think.
yeah. Well, and then being business owners together and coaching together, how do you find that your strengths and weaknesses complemented each other as coaches and as business owners?
Um, I think we're both really good at a lot of the areas. When we worked together and when we coached, we still coach periodically together. We coach Suni together quite a bit. Um, I think we take different roles. So there is a thing called mirror twins, where if we wanted to play hockey against each other, um, one person could be left-handed, one person could be right, so that you could actually play all the positions together. So, um, and one of us would always adopt the other role just so that we could play. So I think in a lot of ways we just played off each other really well. If he was really, um, had a really strict plan that day, I might be the fun guy, and then we might switch it later on. So I think for twins, that's actually pretty normal to have that high level of interpersonal relationship. But I do think the best coaching staffs are capable of that. If somebody comes in and you recognize, well, they're going to be really aggressive on some of this stuff today, then maybe you shouldn't be at that point, and you should be supportive. So it's just, I don't know anything else because he is my twin. So I think that's just something that came natural to us.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me think about parenting. When I am fed up, my husband usually is like, okay, kids, I'm the nice guy, and vice versa. I
Yeah,
think that at any good partnership, you can sort of read each other and go, oh, you're bad cop right now. Okay, I'm going to go good cop. Or
exactly.
like, it looks like somebody needs to like lay down the law in this moment.
Yeah,
And I think that's just kind of good people reading of like,
yeah.
we have the same role of nurturing these humans. What's the best way that we can kind of improv and support everybody the best
Yeah,
way?
and you have a shared goal. So I do think that's one of the things that, if we're just talking about he and my time together, um, always putting the other thing aside, success over being right. Put the athlete first. Try to figure out how to get through to them, and if that's me in that moment, or if that's him in that moment, or his wife Allie, who also coached quite a bit um, uh, in the last few years. That it really doesn't matter who's doing it. If the goal is that the athlete's successful, then you need to take your ego out of it and be able to tag team, so to speak. So yeah, but it's really easy with that. It's not as easy with new staff members when you're hiring people. But I can't say it's ever been as easy with other staff members as it is with my brother, obviously. So
Sure. We don't all have that, that
true.
built-in telekinesis that the
Yeah,
twins
yeah.
sort of have. Yeah. Well, and that makes me think about, I talk to coaches who, they're like, yes, humans first, and I just want happy kids, and I know happy kids perform better. And then they've got, coworkers who are very much sort of old school, like there is no letting up. I don't care, no crying on beam, like, sort of like we don't have emotions here and you just need to get your job done. And it's hard as someone who's like, for me, I'm very empathetic. So I'm like, oh gosh, these kids are hurting. Do you have any recommendations for coaches who, might have a more egotistical coworker of how they can still make an impact? Whether it's, can they go to that person, make suggestions, or, would you have them sort of like level up their own game separately? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah. Um, a couple of things. I think I've always come from there's just two ways to motivate in this world, and that's love and hate and fear. So if it's love, that means, in my estimation, that means you have to meet them where they are. You've got to figure out who they are. You've got to let them figure out who you are. You have to talk goals, shared vision, that type of stuff. That's all of those are long-term investments, and all of those take longer because of the long-term investments. Fear is quick, but it's short-lived as well. So if now I'm not naive enough to think that you don't have to use fear periodically, and that sometimes that isn't like you need them mad at you. That just sometimes, like, look, we get out and compete in front of 10,000 people on a regular basis, and that's just live. That's not the millions that watch. So that's already fear. So if there is a motivation, like, hey, next Friday night, this is for real, and we've got to prepare for this. And some of that is like, okay, this is going to be nervous. We're going there, so I'm going to be here to help you. So it's not like it doesn't always have to be a negative thing, but it can be. And I think in our sport in particular, there have been a lot of shortcuts at times, especially in the years past. And I just feel like long-term success. Now, I might define success slightly differently. I define, an Olympic gold medal is great, but we have a saying here: the ring needs to be worth it. In the end, you got to look back and believe that you did it as best you could, the right way, and both athlete and coach, and that the ring is worth it. Because if the ring's not worth it, then all of that heartache is just scar tissue after a while. And I just never felt it was worth it. I never really wanted to be the I don't want to be the guy 10 years from now that the athlete thought, well, great, I'm a national champ or something like that. But I hated my experience. I also didn't want to be the guy who because I was too soft on them or because I didn't motivate them appropriately, they weren't able to reach their goals. So, my view is my success would be whatever their goal is, I need to get them there, and I need to get them over the humps and provide the tools and the toolbox necessary for them to succeed at the highest level. So it's a lot harder to do it, the long way, but I think it's worth it.
Yes. Yeah, it makes me think of, a couple coaches who they have meetings with their athletes fairly regularly to get on the same page about goals. And, one athlete's going to have different goals than another. And so if you've got an athlete who's like, I want to win, then, you're going to say, okay, let's
Hmm.
link arms and this is going to be hard. You ready? And they go, yep.
Yeah.
And then, and there's that meeting of the minds and hearts that's like, push me, coach, push me,
Right.
get me where I want to go, where other athletes might, say, hey, like less is more with me. And I think that obviously having coached for so long that different athletes have different buttons and they're like, yell or oh, please don't, or so
Yeah.
how in 4 years do you best make those relationships with these athletes so that you really can kind of get heart to heart to them and give them what they're looking for in their college experience?
A lot of investment, and the good thing is we have 20 hours. That's good and bad. That seems like it's not enough time, but if all parties are invested, we do have adults. Now look, they still have a lot of growth left to do, just like I do, but we all have to try to get on the same page really quickly. It's different than a 7-year-old. If I was coaching a 7-year-old, then it's a lot more one-way street for a while, and they're doing a lot of listening, and now the goal is to empower my athletes so they can talk, because if they can talk, we get a lot faster, we get a lot farther faster. So it's a two-way street. If they're invested in getting better and being vocal and actually being in touch with what they want and what they need. I don't like goals as much as I like missions, because I think sometimes uh, um, goal can become a burden. And with a mission, there's a lot of things that need to be done along the way, and there's a lot of successes along the way, so that even if the mission wasn't successful that year, if the mission for us is a national championship, but you finished fourth, and I think you can look back and go, okay, well, that's really good. But if the goal was the national championship, you didn't give yourself any other options. So you got to be careful if you're setting goals that you have other options, or if you need to reverbalize it as mission. For me, make sure the athlete and you are talking about that a lot, and about you know process about interpersonal feelings. Not every day is going to be a great day, and you got to get better on those bad days, that type of stuff. So I don't want to be a negative coach, but you gotta actually show up, and because that's a more difficult coaching environment, then we have to have maybe we'd have to have a tough conversation once in a while, like you're sick that day, you just had 3 finals, and next week is a big meet. We might need to have a conversation like, I know we can't do all of this stuff, but we need to get better, and here's what I think needs to be done. You need to get better at this and this, and here's how I'm going to modify our workout, because I'm a little bit worried about the pounding on your body or your sleep or all that type of stuff. Now you got to tell me yes or no. Okay, yes on these things, but no, I can do more of those. And I'll give you a story. Like one of my first level 10s years and years and years ago. Before I opened up my gym with my brother, I was the head coach and manager of Flips Gymnastics up in Minnesota. And she came to me. She was an older level 10, which would have been, I think she was in 10th grade or 11th grade. And she said, I need to go to college. I really want, I have to get invited to college. I'm going to go to college, but I want to go as an athlete. She's like, I will basically meet you wherever. And mind you, I think I'm 23 at the time or 24, and she's, 15 or something. He's like, I'll do what you need me to do, and I won't complain about it, but I need to be clear. If I don't make it, it's on you. And I'm like, oh, well, that was my first wake up call that their life goals and life missions are really like that is on me. And I think if you, as soon as you start to recognize that, then you've got to actually make some tough calls and have some tough conversations with your athlete. And it was great. She ended up going to college. She ended up getting money. So I think in the end, I learned that, you know, it isn't me about my pride and my number of kids that go to college and get degrees and stuff like that. It is much more about, did I meet her where she needed to be? And I felt a huge amount of success that I didn't mess that one up. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no pressure, 23-year-old Jeff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how cool though that athlete was able that you created a culture where she could come to you and say, "I need you, and I need you to, like, plan this
Yeah.
thing out and, like, really get in my corner here," and that you could go, "Okay, let's do it."
Yeah. I think what I took it as was, and my brother was coaching the same way at the time. What I took it as is I I'm bought in with your philosophy about, we're going to have fun doing this, and we're going to work our butt off. We're going to work harder than anybody else in the state or in the country or whatever level you're at. But I want to go home at night smiling. I want to know it's worth it. I'm bought in, but basically she's saying to me, like, you better put your money where your mouth is. Like, you're 23, you haven't done this before, so this sounds great, but it needs to get done. And it's just a lot of pressure on the coach. I think too many times the coaches, um, Mike Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers says, seek comfort, and by that they blame the athlete. And I really, well, she wasn't invested, she didn't show up that day. Well, I mean, that's your job too. Yeah, when she didn't show up, remind her of her goals, remind her that you're in this thing together, remind her that, um, you know, I'm supposed to get you that degree and that scholarship. You're supposed to show up and do what I'm asking and have an opinion, and meet me halfway. So I think it's a lot more of a burden once you look at it that way, but the rewards are way higher at the end.
Yeah. So, okay, so you also meanwhile, well, you end up with 5 kids, and you are, coaching at this
Yeah,
very
I
high
don't know what I was
level.
thinking.
I have 2, and I don't know what you were thinking because I'm, like, underwater with 2 kids. How did you maintain balance through, with the family life and the intense commitment that you're giving to every single one of these athletes? And, I'm sure at 23, you're like, okay, I got to figure out how to get a level 10 to college. Let's go
Yeah,
add more hours and put more research into it. I mean,
yeah.
how did you balance it? How do you balance it?
I don't know. So I had a unique story. My my wife, she had three kids at the time when we met. The middle one was one of my elite gymnasts. She was in our elite program, and my brother. This when we did own the gym together, and we owned it. There was three of us that owned the gym. Well, the third person, Amy, was actually running the business side of the gym. She was doing enrollments and hiring people, and Jess and I were coaching a ton as this is in our first year or second year. And so there was a number of kids that were very talented from a couple of gyms that got together and started carpooling to come to our gym because we had an elite program. And one of them was Jamie, my oldest daughter. And so I never really knew her mom. At the time, I've known my daughter longer than I've known my wife. A lot of people can't say that, but so when I did get married, the oldest was 15, Jamie was 14, and the youngest at the time was 11. And I wouldn't say I handled it really well. I think I have a really graceful wife that's driven, but also was a gymnast and was a gymnastics coach, so sort of understood what I was dealing with, but was really patient. And I had already a good relationship with one of my kids. And so I do think having two more kids after that it's really beneficial to have a wife who can do it without you. So, it allows Jeff a lot of time to figure things out. But I did care about the kids in the gym like they were my kids, and I cared about my own kids like they're my kids. So even to this day, I've got my two youngest are managers for my team. And I don't pay them. They have to volunteer, and it's my way of staying connected with my kids. My oldest daughter, Jamie, is working for my brother, so the apple doesn't fall far. But we obviously did something right because they still want to be involved with the family. So
Yes, absolutely. Well, that helps when everyone has the same passion, then
mhm.
who needs
Yeah,
balance? You know?
yeah. I'm not a big work-life balance person because I don't not do something well. My wife reminds me of that. I'm always if there's always something that I have to do. So I'm one of those restless ones. So you might
Mhm.
as well just put all your energy one direction rather than 15 directions.
Exactly. We have a house full of ADHD and we're like, just point it in the right direction and we're
Yeah,
golden. It's going to be
there you
great.
go.
Point it in too many directions and it's just going to be a big old mess. But
Yep.
when you aim it in the right direction, you can get a lot done. Okay, now I'd love to chat with you about Suni.
Mhm.
What are some of the moments that you just felt so proud to be her coach?
Pretty much all of them. She's she's really. I just love coaching her. She's practicing. I just like the work more than the result. I really I don't know if you watch when I'm coaching my own athletes now and when I was coaching her here, I'm trying not to be front and center. I try to that's they earn their spotlight. I'm trying to get out of the spotlight and let them have their spotlight. And a lot of times it allows me. It looks like I'm detached, but really don't want the camera on me. I'd rather, and if I do something, the camera's on me. But I just remember all the other things. I mean, obviously, coming back from the kidney stuff is that, and that's then there's an immense amount of pride watching how she did that. Um, but for me, it's just my most enjoyable moments were always in the gym with her. Even though I spent a lot of time outside the gym with her, I spent time in California when she was on Dancing with the Stars and trying to get her homework done with her, and all of just normal life stuff. And I think my brother would say the same thing. There's a lot of coach parenting that goes on in the gym, but at the chalk bucket, uh, they're talking. Their stress is on their sleeve. It's an opportunity to say what's on your mind. They have their guard down because they're in gymnastics at the time. So I mean, just so many fun times with her that I don't know. I can't pick one other than you know the the last Olympics, just knowing what she had been through. I remember the Olympic trials after she messed up vault and it had to hit at the end. That when she went in on floor in Paris when she wasn't supposed to after Jade had struggled and they put her in. Me knowing what was going on behind the scenes and how hard that was for her, and because the normal fans just like, well, that's normally Suni. Well, that wasn't Suni in practice. So it's just to know how hard it was for her and to watch what she did. I mean, I can't quantify it. I just I I love my kids. I think she's phenomenal, and just every day in the gym was um, I don't know how to say it. It it's a bit of a love hate relationship. We argue a lot, and uh, my brother coaches are the same way. There's a lot of banter back and forth, and it's just a lot of tongue in cheek fun, a lot of sarcasm, and I just those are fun times.
Yeah. Okay. So for all the little girls out there who want to be Suni when they grow up, what are the characteristics that make her who she is, that makes her able to, push through the hardest of the hard? What are those characteristics that you recommend, those little kids with big dreams start working on while they're still young?
Well, I mean, look, she works extremely hard, and um, I mean, pretty much her whole life, she has been, I wouldn't say like overly focused because she's very carefree at times. She's very fun at times, most times, and she's not this overly. You wouldn't think she was an Olympic gold medalist mentality because in the gym. She does play a lot. She's comical at times in the gym, but I think the thing that always set her apart for me was I hear people say it all the time, and I just think they get it wrong, that she's fearless because some of the stuff she was throwing, not just the skills, but also the fact that you're taking high risk, and if it doesn't pay off, there was, you know, you're a failure. But also the injury because of the risk of at her level. So many people have referred to her as fearless, and that's not. She's not fearless. She's just more courageous than is necessary to get through. So I and if you're that, if you can face your fear and go, I'm going to do it anyway. I think that's the secret a lot of times, because too many times people are worried about what other people think of them. They're worried about their own failure. They're afraid of mistakes. They're afraid. They have this perfectionist streak, and that she has that too. But she also has this vision of, and as coaches, our job is to continually remind her, I thought you wanted this. Well, if you want this, you might need to mess this thing up, and um, be willing to fail. And if you watched her story, she failed a lot. And even close to the Olympics, even at national championships, at the classic meet, she fell. At Winter Cup, she wanted to go name the skill after herself. She fell. Same thing happened before the last Olympics in Tokyo. She fell at Winter Cup, but she was trying stuff that was almost impossible to put together. And if she could get it, she could win it all. And a lot of people get conservative, and therefore they can't win. So they take that advantage away, and that is not that girl. She is not. She's gonna go. And I feel like you gotta tap into courage rather than this fearlessness thing, because you that fear is real. You got to use that fear. Just tap into it. That's an advantage. But so don't get caught in the illusion that you're going to get to a time when you're not fearful or have the nerves. You got to get to the time where you're like, hey, I excel right now because I've put myself in this position so many times, and I'm courageous enough. I don't really care what other people think of me. I'm going to go do it.
Yes, yes, and that's it. Is I tell people, if you want to eliminate fear, go down a level and never ever do anything harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. You can be perfect if you want to be a level 3 your entire life, then go
Yeah.
for it. If you want to go through the levels and get more skills, you are going to have to learn to navigate fear and
Yeah.
embrace it and learn from it and listen to it and work with it. And that's when you're free, because you're not waiting for that day when it all feels perfect, like you
Yeah.
said.
It's a social media lesson. It's a little bit of everything right now. Um, yeah, most of my most successful athletes that I've recruited, that I've coached, they don't have a string of level 4 and 5 trophies. They they move through so fast, those things, that they're not winning a lot. So imagine being that athlete that is good, is talented, is pushing, but you're not winning. You might not even get medals, and you move to the next level because your goal is 5 miles down the road, not 1 mile down the road. I feel like, and that's hard a lot. A lot of times that's hard for parents at this point to believe that most Olympic. I'm going to put I'm going to put this out there, that I think a lot of Olympians don't have a lot of level 5 medals, and it's because you can't do both. You're going to have to choose. Now, there's nothing wrong with either one, but if you want one, don't do the other thinking it's going to lead you to that one.
Yeah, and that's such a great example of how perfectionism can keep you so stuck. And
Hmm.
those And also then you've got these kids that are winning level 2, 3, 4, who have this insane amount of pressure that they feel like I'm only successful if I'm winning. Whereas if kids are like me, I'm like, oh, I could have been an Olympian. I didn't get any medals in level 4. Like I just
Yeah.
wasn't. But it makes sense that if you have a big picture goal, you're not getting stuck in the weeds. You're just
Hmm.
plowing forward. Whereas so many athletes are so stuck on that next meet, that this skill, I need this skill now, that they don't see the bigger picture and realize, well, you do what you can today, get a little bit better today at that, let go of whatever competition season thing is stressing you out. If it's going to slow down your progress in the gym and make you, frustrated and upset, then
Right.
it's that micro focus that really gets people like so stressed versus whatever. It's like, it's just another meet,
Yeah.
you know?
Don't take yourself so seriously. You know,
Yeah,
I, I,
really.
I mean, long term, if you have big goals, there's we talk a lot here that there's if the goal now is like Final Four for us, that's the final night. We want to be really good on the last night of competition, so we want to give ourselves a shot at winning the national championship. Well, you can't win that if you're not competing on the final night. So all of those goals sort of wrap up together. So we're on a mission to be our best on the last night of competition, and if we get beat by three other better teams, then we still fulfilled our mission. We were our best. If we feel like if we are our best at that time, we probably have a good shot at winning. But if that's the case, then along the way, there's a certain amount of pain that has to be gone through. There's a certain amount of mud you have to walk through to get to the top of that mountain. And we talk a lot about, like, if there's a certain amount that has to go in, then where is it and when is it? When do you want that? Because some of that is you can just take your lumps now. You could push so fast right now that you don't win a whole lot. And then you get farther on down the road and then you can slow down and start to win. Or you could win now and win a lot, but then you've got a longer road after that. So you might have to put the throttle down later. And I don't like that approach as much because you're hoping nothing goes wrong later. I'd rather get a lot of the road behind me early, and then if anything goes wrong, I still got a lot of time left because I've went so fast. And that was Suni. She went really, really fast, got really good, really young, and then was able to deal with some adversity along the way because she had done a lot of the work. She had taken a lot of the medicine that it takes to get you to that level.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's such a it's it's just such a great perspective, I think, in life, of like you just focus on, it sounds like what you're saying, you focus on progress and effort. And if you're
Mm-hmm,
focused on progress and effort every single day and you're letting, you have a very clear intention, you have a very clear mission, everyone's on the same page, you've had those heart to hearts, kids know what their job is, parents know what their job is, which usually is, less is more
mm-hmm,
typically for
mm-hmm.
the parents.
Support. That's a lot. That's a big job. So
Yes, support, 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 clap and hug. And and
mhm.
everyone knows their job. And then you just focus on your progress and effort that day. Big effort, as much, as many of those little improvements every day. That's going to add up to really big stuff. But I love
Yeah.
that you're like, get out of the weeds. So everyone who's getting ready to compete and is freaking out and going, we have to be perfect at the first meet. It's like, no, you just have to be your best that day and then learn from it and make it better the next one.
Yeah. And all of these challenges are opportunities. So if you mess that thing up, why? Go back, dissect it. Well, my mindset wasn't right. I don't have a great mental rehearsal beforehand. Okay, well, coach has been having me try to fix this technique, and I needed to fix it, but it's not quite 100% yet. So therefore, it's probably going to be a mistake. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Why would you change the long-term process? If we have to go through this, I see these things as opportunities. If you don't want to fall in Olympic trials, then fall early. Figure out how not to fall. If you never fall, you don't know how not to fall. So let's stop thinking. There's a saying on the national team that you compete your average, and a lot of that. There's been a lot about that with Suni, about how I just want to be average. She's not saying I want to be average today. What she's saying is I want to train so hard and so aggressively that I'm raising my average consistently. And if I continually raise my average, I'm still making a lot of mistakes, but I'm pushing my average up. Every time I make a mistake, I learn something. I can eliminate that variable. And therefore, all these mistakes, every time you fall, my daughter was a level 4 and I watched her fall. She hit beam early in the season and won. And I'm like, gosh, this is probably not going to go well because she's going to get a big head. She's not going to listen to coach, and wouldn't you know, she went 3 weeks straight, 3 meets straight and didn't hit beam. So she finally asked dad, because the dad doesn't know what he's talking about in gymnastics, but she finally asked dad and said, what's going on? I'm like, well, look, it's hard to stay on the beam with a big head. And she's like, what? Dang, dad, what are you talking about? I'm like, you, you won too much too early and you thought you had all the problems solved. You didn't. You were good enough to win, but you were carrying all this invisible baggage. You had no idea all these other things that needed to be fixed. And if you're winning, it's really hard to listen to coach. So I'm like, you gotta go mess up. Go
Mhm.
let that happen. All of these mess ups, you're just mad. You're not learning from them. So I do think there's some of that has to be just aware. I love the opportunity. It's you messed up. That doesn't define you. That just says something in the process needs to be tweaked.
Yes, I tell the kids I work with, I'm like, "A setback, this is awesome. Ooh,
Yeah.
a fresh setback. We have
Yeah.
access to so much juicy wisdom that you can remember because it just happened." Or,
Yeah.
"I love a good day back to back with a bad day." So I'm like,
Yeah.
"Great, let's figure out what set you up for success, what didn't set you up for success."
And
When
now
it's
you're motivated
fresh.
because you're
Yeah.
upset. So
Yeah. Yes,
let's
and you're
use
like,
that.
"Okay, what do I do? How do I
Yeah.
fix it?" And
And that's
you
where
never wouldn't.
now's and now is not the time where, if you talk about the parents' role, now is not the time to blame or to shift responsibility. I say it's giving away all the athlete's power. Don't let her give her power away. Her power is control over herself. Her power is control of her destiny. So let her be the problem. Let her, okay, it doesn't mean you don't go to coach and have a different conversation and say, listen, what's going on? How can I help? And coach will probably say, well, we've been working on this, and this, and it's all right. He or she might think this is a good failure. This is a good problem, or the process. She has to go through this. So go back to your athlete, your kid, and just say like, hey, this is good. This is good for you. This doesn't define you. This helps you get bigger, better, stronger. But let her keep her power. Let her be her. And otherwise, you're taking away the power and you're shifting it, and that's that seeking comfort. Don't seek comfort. Try to keep let her keep all of that.
Yes, yes. When you can look at your own failures and find your own wisdom, you get your power. I mean, and that's
Yeah.
you play the victim and you're like, oh, my coach did this, or I can't do that, or it's not fair, and I got injured, and all these
Or
things.
the judges,
Mhm.
whatever.
Yep. Yep. The judges, the parents, that girl who's so good, all of those things that we can point the finger out and be like, that's why I'm not succeeding. But if you go, okay, well, what's within my control that I'm doing that's setting me up for success? And what am I doing that's not? And then you can
Mhm.
change those variables. And then you are captain of your own destiny. I
Yeah.
mean, regardless of if you're out there competing against 12 Simone Biles, I mean, you could still show up and be really proud of your efforts because you've really managed everything you can control.
Yeah. That goes back to the Suni conversation. I mean, look, Suni was fully capable in almost all moments to not need my brother or myself. And that was on purpose. The goal is for her to not need us. The goal was put her out there. I don't know if you've heard that him give some interviews on her bar routine, but she has like 7 or 8 options in her bar routine. If you don't connect this, you do this, and this. Well, that's just not a math problem that they write down. That's something she practices, which means she messes it up, means it doesn't connect. Her Olympic medal winning bar routine did not go, that wasn't the number one routine. It didn't connect. So, and she knew in her mind, she knew, I can't win gold if I don't connect this. Oh, it's not connected. All right, go plan B, plan C, plan D. And if you can empower your athletes to get to a point where they're fully capable, then you're more of a guide, you're more of a mentor. And boy, they go a heck of a lot farther than if they're constrained by an external coach, all his opinions or her opinions and coaching techniques, because there's no coach that can by themselves mandate puppet master their athlete to an Olympic gold medal. That athlete is that athlete.
Yes. And same with being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, we set these strong, independent young humans up to go fail early and often, learn, get wiser so that when we launch them out of that nest, they're ready. We're like, go
Yeah.
fail successfully, kiddo.
Yep. Fail
You've
forward.
proven that you can do it. Yeah, bounce.
Yep.
Just keep bouncing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so proud of you for that bounce. So, okay. Oh my gosh. So it's so cool to, hear your perspective on Suni. Now, when you look back on your coaching career, what do you hope that your athletes and your colleagues will remember most about you?
Mm. I don't know. I I don't know if I want them or to remember anything in particular about me. To me, it's more that I really want our athletes. It's part of our mission statement is that they leave here better than when they came, and along with that process is that we've helped them develop the tools necessary to be successful in any walk of life, not just gymnastics, because I think gymnastics is life in a microcosm. There's so much that you can take from our sport and put it elsewhere in your life, that if we can help them develop the tools. Now look, I'm lucky because they come to us with a lot of tools. They have, great families, great coaches in the past, and maybe we have to give them a new tool or help them find a new tool periodically. But a lot of it's refinement and development of the tools. So I just want them to leave and look back here and go, okay, I did something there special. I left that place a better place because of me, and at the same time as I got better because of that place. And I think that's my role in that, is that I would put it differently. I wouldn't want to be the reason somebody didn't develop. Then I'm not doing my job. But I don't need anybody to think. I don't want my own kids to think, Dad, he did this for me. No, I mean, just go do your thing, and maybe as a good a cog in the wheel.
And I noticed that, the more great coaches that I chat with, the ones with less ego, they're the ones that make the biggest impact, because it's not about me, it's about them. And that's the
Well, how, I,
legacy.
I I don't know how you get both. I don't know how you can, like, look, we all have ego. I mean, that's not a bad thing, but it can get in the way. And I really feel like I don't know how you can get both. It's either the athlete or you. And last I checked is I didn't do any beam routines recently. So I think that go out there, get the limelight, and let's come back and work on some stuff. I'll help you. It's almost a view it more as a mentorship than anything else. I think that's what coaching is. But I just don't view it any other way, and I don't. I would hope that my ego doesn't get too wrapped up into. I don't need to be the reason somebody did something, but I definitely don't want to be the reason they didn't do something. So
Yes. Yes, a proper use of the ego, that you're
yeah,
aware, self-aware enough to know that you're not causing problems.
motivating myself with the fear is
There
that
you
would be.
go. Yes, love and fear goes both ways. Jeff Graba, what a gift. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I know this is going to be
Yeah,
so inspiring.
thanks for having me.